In my book, I talk about your North Star, which is so important that and your North Star is setting your goal, whatever that goal is for you. I don't care if it's weight loss, career, pick it, relationship, but you set that North Star, which is that stake in the sand out there. It says that is what I aspire to be. That's where I want to go.
Everybody, what's up and welcome back to this week's episode of It Takes Grit with your host Rebecca Louise, and I'm fired up because I've got a very special guest on today. I feel very honored to have Peter Taunton. He is the founder of Snap Fitness. He's a best-selling author of Impossible Hill, and we're going to hear from him the grit that it's taken to get to where he is. And you guys know I've got a million questions. My parents used to call me the why bird as a kid because I was like, why this, why that? So we're going to have so many questions for you here, Peter. I got the opportunity to meet you through a mastermind that I was part of, and I feel like we met before, but I can't even remember where. I think there was a connection somewhere. But Peter, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
No, you know what? I've looked forward to this, and you're exactly right. I can't quite put a finger on it, but someday we will. And but I'm excited. We have a lot in common, so I'm excited for the interview.
Yeah, we really do. And guys, I mean, Peter founded Snap Fitness, right? So Snap Fitness has over 6,000 locations in 28 countries. So we have people, by the way, that follow this podcast from like 50 different countries. So I'm sure that there's going to be a Snap Fitness local to them. And so we're going to be talking about today what fitness really means when it comes to balancing your lifestyle, how important it is when you put the fitness in. But we're going to start off with Peter's story, first of all, about the grit that it's taken to get to where he is today, to having such a massive company. And we were just talking about planes, and this guy even has his own plane, which is so freaking cool, which is unbelievable. So we've got so much to learn from this guy today. So Peter, tell me, where did you come from? Where did you grow up? And, you know, you take 10 minutes to tell us, 10, 15 minutes to tell us your story. How do you get to being this freaking rock star that now has its own plane?
Well, you know what? I think when I do these interviews, I think giving people context, it helps. And in my case, I just want to set the groundwork. I'm not a trust fund baby. I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my hand. I grew up, I have an identical twin brother. I grew up youngest of 7 kids in a small Midwestern town in Minnesota. And my father had a small grocery store in that hometown, and he put us to work early. I went to school in a 2-room schoolhouse. And, when I talk to my kids about childhood stories, they say, Dad, it sounds like you lived a life of Huckleberry Finn, right? I mean, literally, I loved my life. I had a lot of support around me in terms of with my brothers and sisters and family, and growing up in a small town, that's kind of what you get. So for me, I grew up in a small town. I went to work for my dad when I was 8 years old. He gave me an opportunity to sell popcorn in front of his grocery store. And that was my first, experience in dealing with people, in having responsibility and accountability. And I talk about this all the time, even today. I did not realize that many of the lessons I was going to learn as a small boy would be so prevalent as they are today. And throughout my life, I have had to overcome unbelievable odds, like we all do. And I come to believe that, you need to have discipline, accountability, and perspective. And for me, I had discipline and accountability. And I would say, if you don't have discipline, you'll never hold yourself accountable. It's really that simple, because you talk yourself out of everything. And so in my case, my dad gave me an opportunity to go to work for him at a very young age. I loved it. And, I always share a quick story. When I was 8, one day my dad was walking by me I was sitting there, 8 years old, doing my thing, right? Waiting for somebody to come up and ask me if they want some popcorn, right? Well, my dad walks about 30 feet past me, he stops, he pivots, he turns around, he comes right back towards me. He's looking right at me. I'm thinking, oh shit, what did I do now, right? As any 8-year-old would. He stops and he says, hey son, how's business? How's sales? And I was just getting ready to lay into my 8-year-old dissertation on why sales were slow. I got about 5 words deep in it. And he says, hey son, it's slow because you're just sitting behind the desk. You're waiting for things to happen. You got to get out from behind that counter. You got to make things happen. You got to go up to people. You got to ask them if they'd like some popcorn today. Tell them how fresh it is, and just sell it. You got to sell it, right? Well, that was petrifying for me. So the punchline was, you're either going to watch things happen or you're going to make things happen. You choose. So I let him get away because I thought, my gosh, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to allow him to watch me crash and burn these first few times. I was a shy kid, but it was a great lesson. And you know what? Lo and behold, my sales about doubled for the day. And it was a great life lesson, for all of us, that you either watch things happen or you make things happen, and we control it. Right? Nobody's going to get up and say, hey, Rebecca, make sure you do this, this, and this today. Right? I mean, that's just not how the world works. Everybody's dealing with their own stuff. And in my early 20s, I had an opportunity to turn around a failing health club. And honestly, I didn't know at the time that was going to be my springboard into building one of the largest wellness brands in the world. I had no clue. I had no business experience other than that popcorn stand. I'd never had employees before. And anyway, I got a call one day. I was living in Orlando, Florida, and they said, hey, would you be interested in turning this club around? I left out the part. I was a professional racquetball player for about 12 years. So that's why that's how they come to find me. And hey, would you be interested in coming and working for us? Anyway, I moved up to Wilmer, Minnesota, which is the hometown that I grew up in, to turn around this failing club. And it was a long journey, which is why I talk about perspective. I worked at that gym for 20 years. Now, it took me 8 years to turn the gym around and eventually buy that from the owners of the club. And then I went on to build 5 or 6 more clubs. But it took me 20 years to get to where I thought success was. I sold that after running it for 20 years. And had a moment of just thinking about, what do I want to do next in my life? And that's when one of my former employees approached me. He said, hey, I understand you've been doing this for a long time, but we don't like who you sold the business to. Would you ever consider building a club for us to run for you? Would you ever consider? If I said no once, I said it a half a dozen times. And finally, one day I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to build a club, but I'm going to cut out the swimming pools. I'm going to cut out the aerobic studios, the racquetball courts. I'm just going to take this 40,000 square foot club and I'm going to pare this thing down to something that has everything necessary to get fit, but it's not going to have necessarily all the bells and whistles that some people might need. Right. And so I did. I tossed out all of those things: childcare pools, racquetball, aerobic classes. And I had this club that was about 4,000 square feet, so about a tenth the size. But as I condensed that business, Rebecca, I also condensed the operating cost, the overhead. I also condensed what it cost, the capital requirement to build one. I was building one on a fraction of the cost to build these big full service clubs. And what was surprising to me is when I built this club and I opened it, I sold enough memberships in 90 days to cash flow this business for the year. And I was really taken back by it. I thought, wow, what a nice surprise. I was only planning on building one. I still was not thinking about Snap Fitness. I just thought, you know what? I'm going to build this club. I feel indebted to this guy who gave me 12 years of his life, hard worker, great employee. I was going to let him run it, right? And then I built a second one in a little bit different size community. It performed the same way. And it was not until I built the third one. I built it in a town of 3,500 people. Now think about that. When I say it was a one stoplight town, it's no joke. There was one stoplight in this community. Total population, 3,500 people. And I sold enough memberships, everything fell in line. The operating expense, instead of rent being $5,000 a month, it was $1,000 a month, and that included utilities. So all the unit level economics fell into place. And that is when I knew I had a tiger by the tail, when I knew that I could open one in a town of 3,500 people, a town of 15,000 people, or a market of, a few 100,000 people. The product resonated with the general public. People said, I like it. And my battle cry was, I'm different. I always say in business, you got to thin yourself from the herd in a good way. So for me, I was 24-hour access. That's nothing new. Everyone was 24-hour access. You belong to one, you belong to them all. My membership prices, they were affordable. They were about $35 a month. But the real big difference was no contract. So when people would come into my business, I would say, look, I've got everything you need here to get fit. I've got everything you need. And when you join my facility, I'm not going to have you sign a 12-month contract, 18-month contract. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to earn your business and earn your trust every day. Well, people, 18 years ago now, when people heard that message, they're like, man, it is about time that somebody came to market with something that's not going to shackle me to some long-term contract. If I love it, I'm going to stay. If I'm not, so I said, I'm going to earn your business, earn your trust every day. And if I don't do that, it's really simple. You just quit. Well, that was it. I was off to the races, Rebecca. And, here I am, today I have 6,000 locations, but it's actually spread across 3 brands now. So Snap Fitness is one, 9 Round is another one, Fitness on Demand is another one. So those 3 brands operate in 28 countries, roughly 6,000 locations. It changes all the time, but so that's been my journey. And I've been doing that for the last 18 years. I stepped down as the CEO of the company I founded 2.5 years ago. And now I do a lot of consulting and mentoring and doing things like what we're doing today.
That's so awesome. And something that you said was like, it worked in a town of like 3,500. And so many people, when they start a business, feel that they need so many people. Like, hey, you don't necessarily have to be in a really big town where things are going on. Like sometimes it actually works better in these smaller towns. We're finding my brother has a nutrition club in North Carolina and actually going to somewhere in Illinois in Danville to open up one, which is where my sister-in-law is from, because it's a small town and they don't have anything like that. And there's a lot less people there than where they are in Chapel Hill.
It's so true, Rebecca. And you know what? The business, if it works in a large city, in terms of resonating with people, the people in most markets, there's not a big difference. People in a small community, they're not small-minded. They want value. They want a good product. They want to experience all those things that everyone experiences in a larger market. So when you can deliver that at an affordable price, and the unit level economics work like they did in my case, you have something that is really scalable. And there are a lot of franchise concepts out there that only work in these really densely populated marketplaces. But if you want to build thousands of locations, you have to resonate in every type of market. You have to be a little bit of a chameleon. You have to be able to adapt to whatever your surroundings are to really deliver value. But when you do that, great things can happen.
Absolutely. And so what does your daily routine look like now? Like, did you used to favor getting a workout in rather than business? Because I think that's a question that, a lot of people that ask me, people that watch this are kind of building their business. They're just getting started, but they're also really heavy into fitness because I have a fitness app. And they're like, how do you choose, or do you not choose? Do you make sure that you do your business and you get a workout in? Or is it sometimes it's how did you do this over the last 18 years of getting your health in at the same time as building a huge business?
Yeah, you know what, Rebecca, it's different today than it was when I was running my company. When I was running my company, I would work out over the lunch hour. In my corporate office, we had a beautiful Snap Fitness facility in our building. So that's where I would train every day over my lunch hour. But today it's different. Today I start my day with a workout. And I think that is really important for me. It's the first box I get to check for the day. And we talk about discipline and accountability. We spoke about, we mentioned that earlier. And that is the first thing. I mean, it's like making your bed in the morning, right? It's literally, you work out, you held yourself accountable. When you're done, your head is clear, you're ready to roll. That's one thing. I mean, I don't know about you, but for me, if I don't get my workout in the morning, it blows in my ear all day. It's like, Peter, when are you going to go work out? When are you going to go work out? And I have a great gym right here at my lake home. So it just festers. I have to do it. Like last night, I didn't do it in the morning. I had to work out last night about 6 o'clock. I don't even like working out at night. I don't even like it. Right. So anyway, I think it's great discipline. Do it right away in the morning, make the time. You're showing yourself that you can do it. You're holding yourself accountable. And, it's always good to start checking boxes right away in the morning.
Perfect. So even if you're in momentum, you're building your business, like you're working. I mean, when you get started, you're doing everything all day long. I understand what that's like, but you think it's still important to maybe not work that extra hour, but it's important to get the workout in more so.
You know what? I'll bet just like you, many of your listeners, your day's never done. Our to-do list, it's never done. I have a to-do list, and I've been making a to-do list since I've been 12 years old, and I still do it today. I have things that I need to get done, and I put them in order of priority. And so there's prioritization. If they're still sitting there 4 or 5 days, then I really reflect on it and say, is it something that I really need to, is it really that important for me? But the reality of it is, though, just, holding yourself that accountable and pushing through it, it's absolutely key.
Yeah, I think so too, because it makes you feel better. It's just going to release endorphins. It releases stress. And we know that when you're building a business, you're basically putting out fires all day long. Like, it's the fun, it's the journey, but at least if you've got your workout in, you kind of release some of that too.
And you have to make the time. You have to make the time, because your day is never done, and you got to do it. And I think when you come to grips with that your day is never going to be done, then pretty soon you have to have that me time. And whether that me time is right away in the morning, right? I mean, for me, I get up, I have a cup of coffee. This is really important. I mean, it's really important when you roll out of bed. For me, I roll out of bed, I put on my workout clothes. Okay. So I know, don't go down to the lower level because now that's one more step I got to do. So now I'm kind of halfway committed to my workout. So I get my workout gear on, I go down and make a cup of coffee, and I go sit down on my deck, and I read a daily devotional just to kind of get my head right where I need to be, a daily devotional. And I just really enjoy the nature and the peace of my setting that I'm in here at the lake home. And then I do that for literally 45 minutes or so. And then I go in and I go right down to my exercise studio and get it done. And I'm not down there for an hour and a half. Literally, I'm in and out of there in 50 minutes. I do 30 minutes of cardio and 20 to 25 minutes of intense circuit training. So my heart rate never really goes down, but I've been doing that type of a workout for years, and it works for me. I stay lean, I stay vascular, and then I try to eat clean. So I'm exhibiting discipline, throughout my life, just like you do. I've been watching some of your YouTube videos. You look great. So I know that you're exercising, you're eating clean, you're doing all the things that we all want to do to live a healthy, prosperous, full life.
100%. And I think that I always talk about 20% fitness, 80% nutrition, 100% mindset. And one of the big things that I've really found that, my audience have been struggling with, whether they're starting their fitness journey or they're starting a brand new business, is that outside opinions. Now, I'm sure that when you started your health club or you started stuff, there's people saying stuff to your face, saying stuff online. Does it affect you? And how do you, be human about it, but still make sure that it doesn't actually affect your business and where you want to go in life?
I just spoke about this topic just on an Instagram post about a couple of months ago. It's really important who you bounce ideas off. Okay, it really is, because we all know people. It doesn't matter what comes out of your mouth. They will say, I would never do that, especially if it's business or there's any risk at all. And that's why they're not entrepreneurs. The entrepreneur is kind of a unique mindset, right? And the thought of being in business is not scary. The thought of failing is not scary, because I'm doing a topic next week, fail your way to success, because it truly is. I would say if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. So it's so important that when you're bouncing these ideas off people, that you have someone that is going to give it to you honest, but they're not necessarily going to throw a wet blanket on what you're doing, because you're sharing it with them. And the idea is still in its incubator stage, right? You're still, it's like a clay, a clay mold that you're trying to make. You're molding it, and you're going to make changes. You're going to refine it. So you're still getting to the point of creating your plan. And then beyond that, it's, you have to execute. You have to jump. And that's where a lot of people don't make the move. Be honest with you. You have to visualize it. You have to create a plan. And the last part is you actually have to make the jump. And that's where people fail. So, to me, when you're going through that process, make sure you're bouncing ideas off people who are going to listen, give you honest feedback, but they're not going to throw that wet blanket. They're not going to say, hey, Rebecca, you're crazy if you do that, right? You just don't do that. I actually bounce a lot of ideas off my twin brother. He's a successful businessman as well. And he's rational, and it's great to have another rational mind looking at it, saying, here's another way to think about it. And it's great. Having that resource is a real blessing.
Yeah, it's about having the people around you that are like, oh, I like this idea. What about X, Y, and Z? Rather than like, I would never do that. Why would you do that? I wouldn't support that. You're crazy for doing that. My mentor taught me this like 8 years ago. He said, don't take advice from people you wouldn't trade places with. And that was something that like
The great,
really
I
stuck with
love
me.
that.
Isn't that great? Because, when
Yeah.
you start something new, and I remember, coming out with, doing nutrition stuff and fitness, and people like, I remember an agent once telling me, my manager at the time was like, you're not ready to have your own app. Like they literally told me 4 years ago, you're not ready to have your own app. And this is the reason that they gave me, was because at the end of an event, there wasn't enough people coming up to take photos with me. That's legitimately their perception of it. And I could have listened to them and said, oh my goodness, like I'm not ready for my own app. You don't have to be anybody to have your own app for anything, right? You could just
Right.
have an amazing idea. You don't have to have an audience. You don't have to have anything. And I really remember thinking like, no, you're wrong. And I'm going to go on and build an app. And, thank goodness that I did.
And you know what, Rebecca, exactly right. And you know what, we're both in very, very competitive spaces. And there are a lot of people out there with apps and whatnot. And even when you're creating something, and this is important for a lot of people to understand, even when you're creating something, you don't have to, you're going to go down in business, you're going to go down one of two paths. You're either going to introduce something that's never been seen before, or you're going to take something that's already there and you're going to enhance it. So in your case, exercise, nutrition apps, pick it. The information, in many cases, it's going to be similar, but the delivery, I mean, look at your personality, look at your energy. So it's in the delivery of it. That's why people want to subscribe to you. They can get their information anywhere, but they're not going to have as much fun in receiving the message and getting the engagement that they get with you. And that's so important with everything, with everyone. Look, you know what? Even Snap Fitness, look, the idea of 24-hour fitness, it was under our noses for decades. People were going into hotels and working out using their room key. It was unstaffed and we would do it. You'd never think about it, right? So all I did was take that premise and bring it to the doorsteps, around the world. And there's thousands of us out there today. There's room for all of us. And it just brings a whole level of awareness up. And today, every day, there's more and more people getting involved with trying to eat right and exercise and move their feet. But there's still a lion's share of the population doesn't do anything. So we still have a lot of work to do.
Oh yeah, I mean the obesity epidemic and people still not getting a workout. We're never going to be short of people that need our help. So
No.
that's how I see it. Yeah.
If we can crack the code on how to get that person that's sitting at home, complacent, lethargic, if we can crack the code on how to get that person involved in any kind of activity, that's where the billions reside. It's right in that area, getting those complacent. And there's all kinds of people creating apps, giving points and prizes for people to get up and move their feet. But the reality of it is in many cases, they need a scare, or somebody near and dear to them has had something catastrophic happen. They need something to push them off that ledge and get them into it. And then once they do it, they're thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know why I waited so long. I mean, we see people every day that say, my gosh, I've never felt so good. I wish I had done this 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I helped my mum lose 42 pounds like 7.5 years ago. And it's just like, she'd been struggling to lose weight for 26 years. And it's like, wow, you got a whole new life back. So I know it's my mission every day, just to help one more person move and feel amazing. Okay. So tell me about your book. It's called Impossible Hill, which I just love the title of. How did this come about? What's it about? And what's the structure of it?
When I stepped down as the CEO of my company, at first, I was just going to sit back. In fact, I said, I'm going to chill for 40 days and 40 nights and just reflect on this amazing life that I've had. And so in that process, I started thinking that I'm going to throw my hat in the ring for consulting. So I started doing that. And then I was doing an interview, much like we're doing right now. And they knew some people at Forbes. And then the folks at Forbes called me to create a masterclass for them. And that helped. That opened some doors for me on the consulting at a much deeper level. And they were the ones that said, man, you got such a unique story and you should write a book. And that's really that was the catalyst on starting it. So the team from Forbes and a couple of other good friends of mine, we set out to write this book. The purpose of the book was, and it's called Impossible Hill. And when I originally wrote the book, I wanted to call it Taking the Hill. Okay. Because I say that all the time. I say that, look, in your life, we all have these moments where you have to take the hill, either for yourself or for those around you that are maybe, a little bit insecure. They're not comfortable doing it. And you got to do that. You got to do the right thing, stand up for people that won't stand up for themselves. And so I talk about this all the time. Taking the Hill was going to be the book. And they go, no, man, I think Impossible Hill, because you overcame so many things in your life. So that was kind of the catch, is Impossible Hill. The goal of the book is to help people see themselves in the book and say, look, I can make the impossible possible for myself, but I have to, there's a plan, there's a mindset. And so I talk about mindset a lot. I talk about the discipline and accountability. I talk about the process of winning. And there's some real common threads between people that win and really win big. If you took all those people and put them in a room, there are some common threads amongst all of them. And it may appear so obvious to some, but I tell you what, you've got to take those principles, those foundations, and you got to incorporate them into your life. And when you do that, and when you really hold yourself accountable, when you really walk the talk, because there's a lot of people out there completely that are, let's face it, they're fakes. It's just a big fraud. And you can't, you got to own your stuff, and you just got to keep pressing forward. And when you do that with the right mindset, good things happen. And there's just great fundamentals on how you want to show up every day, how you want to level up, just like you do. You're always leveling up, right? You're always thinking about, what can I do better? You never sit back where you are and say, I've made it to whatever that is. You immediately look for the next hill to climb. And that's what keeps you, that's what keeps that fire. That's what keeps that purpose going for you. And that's what I hope to instill in others. So it's been a great journey. And, my journey's not anywhere near over. I really love what I do.
I know. I always just think, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? I was due to climb Mount Everest in 2020. So I'm getting to do that next year. So I'm definitely going to be getting this book. But 3 weeks out, ready to go. I was like, I'm mentally prepared, ready to go. It's like, nope, you are not going to Everest. But I'll be doing that next year. So I'll be definitely getting that book. It's so amazing. I love what you talk about showing up. I just tell people, just show up. Like, sometimes your mind's not there. It's like 3 levels of showing up. One, just get your body in the room, right? Sometimes we go to a workout, but we're thinking about what happened yesterday. We're thinking about what we're going to have for dinner, and we're following the instructor, or we're doing the moves, but we're not really there. But at least we got our body in the room, because what happens is, you don't get your body in the room, the next day you don't even show up, and your mind's less likely to join you. So I'm like, get in the room, whether it's your mind is there or not. Number 2, you get up, you show up, your physiological body's there and your mind's with you. Third level of showing up is you're there, your mind's there, and then you're bringing people with you, because you'll never have impact and influence other people if you can't show up, even when it's difficult. I remember going through my divorce, and 8 years ago, and I was rocking forwards and backwards on my sofa and crying. Then Zoom would pop up. I'd be like, "What's up, everybody? It's Rebecca Louise," and just smiling. And then the Zoom would go down. I'll be crying again. But it made me feel better, because at least for that moment, I had that energy.
Yeah. And when you're on, you have to be on, right? And in my book, I talk about your North Star, which is so important. That in your North Star is setting your goal, whatever that goal is for you. I don't care if it's weight loss, career, pick it, relationship, but you set that North Star, which is that stake in the sand out there. It says, that is what I aspire to be. That's where I want to go. Really important, though, is that you set little milestones along the way. Take my case. It took me 20 years to reach what I thought was my North Star. 20 years. Had I known, Rebecca, it was going to take 20 years, I would have quit 100%. I would have switched gears. I know it. But I set little milestones along the way. And that was so important for me, because as I reach those milestones, I see progress. I see movement, and movement is inspiring. It's just like your clients that want to lose weight. Hey, I want to lose 50 pounds. Look, 50 pounds, that's a lofty goal. And you know what? They get excited because the first 15 come off easy. Those last 20 are complete bear, right? So you've got to set realistic expectations, and you have to have a plan of action that you're going to hold yourself to. That's where that discipline, accountability. So it's so important in every goal that we take, that we just set goals, set milestones, and then just stay the course.
You said you had a 40-day break after you sold. Was there a reason it was 40 days, or was it just like, I need 40 days?
I did. Well, for me, it was just in the Bible, 40 days and 40 nights. That's where I got it. I mean, I just said, look, when I sit back and I look at my life and I look at the life that I live today, literally, I ask myself every day, what did I ever do to deserve so much? And so I give, when I pray and understand, God must roll his eyes at me daily, multiple times, because I'm not some Bible banger on a milk carton with a blowhorn, with a Bible in one hand and a blowhorn. That's not me. Okay. I can't recite scripture. All right. I'm a very average Christian, but I do the best I can. Okay. But I do know this, I have compassion. So I fight for the underdog in every case without hesitation. And I'm very passionate about what I do. And I'm very grateful of the life that I've been given. And I don't know why. So I always say, hey, God, you know what? Put me in harm's way, because I know I'm a warrior. So I say, put me in harm's way, and any good that I do, let them see your face and not mine. And I think that's a great message for everyone. It's not about us. It's about him. So for me, and look, I don't know why. I don't know, where you have me and how and why I got all this, but let's go. I'm yours. So that's kind of how I roll. Every day I try to be a light in someone's life. I hope I'm not sucking the life out of someone, right? That's not a good thing. But yeah, I've been very fortunate.
I love that. And Tony Robbins says the secret to living is giving. And I feel like that just makes you feel, it makes you feel so full. So what are you excited about for the rest of this year and beyond? I know you got some other projects going on too, things that you can talk about, but what are you excited about for this next chapter? You know what
I'm excited about? There's a new venture that I've got involved with that I'm actually the CEO of a company now. It's called Nautical Bowls. It's a franchise concept for acai bowls. And we literally we put the business model together. We've been doing it for about the last 6 months, just started selling franchises 2 months ago, 2 to 3 months ago. We've sold 26 locations. We've got 8 locations under construction. You know what? It's a great concept, very affordable for people to get into. And that's what I love about it. I don't get excited about a lot of business ventures, but what I really love about this one, if you have 50,000 cash, we can get you into business. And there's a lot of people that want to be in a business where they can find financial freedom, find financial independence. Number one. Number two, be in a business space where they're doing good, right? We're not serving sugar bombs. Ours are acai bowl. They're plant-based, completely organic, no refined sugar. So we're really serious about what we do. And we're really, passionate about what we do. So anyway, that's what I'm doing now. That's what I'm excited for the foreseeable future. I do that. And then I'm involved in so many other things that in the 20 years of my success, I have a TV show, a partner and I have a TV show called Global Child, which is a travel show. It's on Amazon Prime. You can see it on all the major airlines. I have another buddy of mine. He and I own a 5-star luxury lodge in the Serengeti, beautiful, which falls right in line with one of my other passions, which is the stopping of poaching, of all animals, the cruelty to animals, but specifically the poaching that takes place across, many parts of that part of the world. And I'm in manufacturing. I'm still in the fitness business. So with Lip Brands, I still own about 20% of that company. So I'm involved with a lot of different things, but I find time for balance. I find time to spend with my family, my work balance, my family balance, my spiritual balance, spending time with my girlfriend. I mean, all those things, it's a fine dance that you have to do, but it's very, very important, as I'm sure you do. We struggle for it. We struggled to make the time, and it's a choice. You have to make the time for all those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say it's about finding your rhythm, right? Finding the rhythm with like who's in here and finding that rhythm and the flow. You know, balance is hard because it's like, well, if we're balanced, are we doing too much of one thing or the other? So it's all about finding that rhythm. So I'm so
I love that. That's a great word.
Yeah, I love it. Finding your rhythm, it just creates that momentum. It's so awesome that you're into the animals too. I work with a charity called Four Paws, and I was just over in South Africa last year. They do a lot with rescuing four-legged animals from human captivity, a lot of the poaching as well. So yeah, we have so much. I think I've met your partner from Global Child TV.
Augusto?
Yes, I've met him. I had coffee with him. Probably 2 years ago in Santa Monica or somewhere. Yeah. I think there's so many people. I'm just like, as you're talking, I'm like, I feel like I know this guy.
Yeah, that is funny. Yeah. Augusto's a dear friend of mine.
Yeah, he was amazing because I traveled a lot before COVID happened, filming workout videos all over the world. And so we're working on some stuff together on that. So that's so awesome. I love it. I love it. I'm definitely gonna have to come and visit you in that lake house, and then when you're over in Miami as well. So
yeah, please do. I'll be here. I'm here till I'm usually here till about the 20th of September, and then I'm back in Miami until about June 1st.
You got the right balance there, right? You want
right?
You don't want to be in Minnesota in the winter. It's cold.
Well, you know what? And I grew up here, so believe me, I know that. So given the first opportunity to leave when I was able to, I did. I got out of here in the winter. So.
That's amazing. So Peter, where can all of my audience find you on social media and your book?
Yeah, they find me literally. This is what you'll understand why I'm not the marketing guy. My handle on Instagram is Peter_Taunton. So I don't have some really crafty, clever name. It's just Peter_. My last name is TAUNTON. And then my book, you can just go right on Amazon and just type in, Impossible Hill. It'll come right up.
Awesome. And we'll put all those links for everybody below as well in the podcast, so you guys can have access straight to Peter. So again, thanks, Peter, so much. Guys at home, thank you for listening. Make sure that you go and follow him, give him some love, say thank you so much for being one of our amazing guests on the It Takes Grit podcast. And we will see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.